And welcome. If you can't see already, I'm here with Helping Hands. Hello, Hans.
Hey guys, what's up everyone?
We're here today to talk to you about ESL, of course, because Helping Hands did a fantastic thing on Saturday. He won the biggest tournament of ESL, the last monthly tournament for March, and it was, as I have said many times, massive. And I'm sure he's raring to go. He wants to tell you all about it. But before we even get there, Hans, let's start at the start. You've been playing Company of Heroes series for how long now?
Oh God, since I did play when the game first came out in 2006, but I only just played the campaign, so yes. But I've been playing it and then on and off. I got into the game competitively probably around 2009.
Wow.
That's when I did.
That's a hell of a long time. So basically,
Mm.
10 years, nearly the entire release time.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
2009. What kind of players can we remember from that time?
I think Sepha, Razor, Aimstrong, Devim. I think they were around that
Doctor
time.
Horse, Arhenian, any of those guys? I mean, it was a hell of a different landscape there. I mean, patches changed it immensely until it
Yeah.
finally settled in 2.602 in 2011, which is roughly the same time you started streaming on a
Yeah.
consistent basis, wasn't it? What do you remember about your early days of streaming?
I never thought I'd be where I am now with streaming. I just did it, for a hobby because I my role model was Complexity. I don't know if you remember Gene.
Yeah, of course.
He used to play the Panzer Elite a lot, and I was like, oh, this streaming seems like a lot of fun. And I thought, I want to do this as well. And I just did it for a lot of fun. I just grew from there. I just kept on doing it. My passion for the game, never really lost it. So yeah, I just kept on playing it like that from
And
there.
many armored cars were built.
Many armored cars, my favorite unit in Eco. I wish
So,
they were that effective in this game. Damn,
yeah,
that's it.
the 222 doesn't quite hold a candle to the terrifying armored car with its amazing 180 flip ability, which of
Mm.
course was great. Let's talk about the competitive scene at the time. It was kind of dying down, but the CoH wasn't actually announced at this time, so tournament organisers, especially from GameReplays.org, Ami Poletsai Funk, and the admins there especially, were still organising big tournaments. Do you remember foraying into any of these at the time and having a go?
Yes, I remember a few SNF I entered, weren't very successful. I remember like struggling against people like Barton, and never really making a dent in the scene. The only tournament that I remember doing fairly well in was winning the qualifying cup for a WMD tournament,
Ah,
I believe that
yes.
was. But apart from that, I never did anything more than that. I
Hey,
don't think.
if I'm
Yeah.
not mistaken correctly, that tournament had Argentine
I think he
Crossroads.
did by White Flash. Yeah, man.
Yeah,
He's recently had his map into Company Heroes 2. So
uh,
yeah, big props to White Flash. He's done an excellent job on making that map.
and helping Relic with balance changes to their other 1v1 maps, which has been really good of him. Argentine Crossroads, of course, cracking map, and well done for that. So moving forward, KO2 is on the horizon. And all our suspense aside, THQ kind of go under, which makes us think, oh crap,
Yeah.
there goes the series. Bit of a dark time. But what were your thoughts on release, and what were your general feelings of the game at the time?
I was just ecstatic because it was just like my dream game, has a sequel because I've just been
Yeah,
playing Company Heroes all the time. So, from now looking back to how Company Heroes 2 was released, it's come such a long way. We've had, three more factions added to the game. There's just so much more depth to it. I'd always even then I was like adamant at people like True Sight and the Ice. I was like, look at this cool shit, man!
yeah.
It's so cool. And then I couldn't stand people who were in Company Heroes 1 community who were still adamant that that game was still superior. I was like, look, there's vaulting now. There's this thing called True Sight where you could proper camp,
Yeah.
ambush people. I couldn't believe people were still adamant
That's
that
why
the
you
game
won't
was.
play Co 1 now, right?
Mm,
So I always wondered that actually. But moving forward, so they really, eventually once they've stabilized as a company, Relic start patching Co 2 and etc. and bringing new things in. The competitive scene at the time, just to cast your mind back, this by the way is populated mainly by what are the guys? Frontline Fatalities
yeah.
World
Oh
Cup.
yeah.
And then also you had then ESL, the original one, with Epkai Fung doing free tournaments, etc., and SNF 5. What do you remember about the competitive scene at this time and your involvement in it?
I really miss the frontline network guys. Roger and
Yeah,
Pounder were quite active around then. Though all there was quite everybody was really hyped about the game, and I was really disappointed that the Frontline Network guys fell away after their tournament they did. I think they did it a bit too early.
Yes.
And that was a shame. The competitive scene was still just getting into the game. I believe that there really wasn't that much there yet to get a hold of. There wasn't really that many big tournaments when the Company Heroes 1 came out. You've got to always remember that, when you look at Company Heroes 1, there wasn't that many, big tournaments. But now, when the game first came out, it's the same thing with Company Heroes 2. You've got to give it that time cycle, until the later years of the game's life when it's balanced, it's patched better, it's more optimized better, that kind of thing.
Sure. Well, yeah, I certainly agree with you there. Moving on, let's talk about you as a player and your skills as a player. How do you evaluate this earlier Hans period from like 2010 to 2013? What were your strengths? What were your weaknesses?
In 2010, when I was trying to play competitive, I was just doing it because I just loved the thrill of winning. I didn't really like study my opponents. I was one person who I remember seeing Inverse's name, if you remember Inverse from
Of course,
Company
yeah.
Heroes 1, and I would panic. I would think, "Oh my God, it's this guy." I was, you see those names come up in the loading screen, and terror and dread come over you, thinking, "Oh no, I can't win." But then I just, as I kept on practicing more and more, and I started beating people like Marines and Inverse and all these other people. And I was just getting more and more filled with confidence, and I just kept on learning from my mistakes, looking at guides and seeing how to improve. Yeah, and then when it came to big tournaments, I find that I again feel like I choked a lot.
Yes, yeah.
I
Unfortunately, I believe I may have
pressure
said
came.
quite a lot that
Yeah,
word
I do
especially.
remember. That's why I said it.
Yeah, um, yeah, I fully agree with that. And you're always one to back in tournaments. I remember you played in a few of mine in back in the day, and I was always hyped for you to get into the semi-finals. You did a cracking match. I believe it was against possibly Sandland, 3-2 loss in the Reddit tournament, and I remember you back in the day, and there was that general feeling. Hans, great streamer, great player, but not quite got the killer instinct to just go
Yeah, I
completely in the
feel.
zone and finish the job.
Yeah, I feel I was too defensive and too passive.
Yeah.
That's one of my weaknesses in the early days. I would never and VP control. I would always let that slip. And nowadays I feel like I need to be the aggressor because I want to be the one dictating how the engagements happen, not the other way around.
Sure.
That's how you have the advantage. So, I feel like being the aggressor is always the key. Yeah, I've just took that on board from people who've been criticizing me, and I didn't realize it in the past. And now, after watching myself, I'm thinking, oh yeah, I do that. So I need to concentrate and get in there and correct those mistakes.
Great stuff. And around that time, do you ever remember? I pulled this out in a cast out of the back of my mind. You once had a King Tiger in Co 1
Hmm.
that went over a mine within 30 seconds of being on the field and got a destroyed engine.
Oh,
Do you
oh
remember that?
really?
Do you remember
Oh,
the rage of that? Is that just one of the many millions of moments for you? But for me, that
probably.
was
I
like,
don't remember that at
it
all,
came
but
so
yeah, it
crystal
sounds
clear for
typical.
me in my mind when I was watching your fight. We won't get to the finals yet, but anyway. So the
Yeah.
scene now, we're heading into Army Polizei Funkville with SNF 5.
Yeah.
I remember your big map you had on the back of your wall. You remember this tournament? This was a big one, wasn't it? Ah,
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Though my memory's a bit vague of what happened in that game, those matches.
OCF though, how did you do in them? That was a bit more recent, 2015.
OCF. I think again I lost to God, who was it this time? I think it might have been Barton I lost to this time around
Oh,
again because I used to have a big rivalry with Barton and I kept on getting knocked out by him, which would always annoy me and I'd be like, oh, I can never win. I remember one map, it was always like on Samoski I managed to steal his Panther at one point. That was really fun. And then I won that first round, but then I proceeded to lose the next two. Um, but now, I just feel like I've surpassed him now. Because
yes.
I've not lost to him in the last 6 months or so. I've done a really good, really played really well.
Nice.
Yeah, he still tries to stream snipe me, and he fails miserably all the time. And I feel great for it because I'm like, this guy was somebody, who was, one of the top dogs, one of the guys who would win, the big in ESL. I remember I think he won Operation Charlie Fox, I think, if I remember
No, no,
correctly.
no, not
Oh, was
officers
that, or
for
was that
an earlier
SNF?
SNF 5 he won.
Oh, it was
Yep,
an SNF,
SNF
so my
5.
bad. Yeah, but yeah, he won. He was the one for winning these big tournaments. So yeah, being able to beat Barton feels, is
Big
feels
big
great.
moment, man. That's impressive. So we've now got you in late 2015. The patches were a little bit screwy at this time. The general consensus was, but I guess you were starting to really feel stronger as a player if you give us that 6 month timeline. That would take us to like the time of Operation Charlie Fox and that kind of zone. What was it for you that you feel got you to that stage where you felt more strong, more dominant, and more resilient to challenges from big players?
I think around this time, I was getting a bit more respect from people, so I felt a bit more confident in myself
Yeah,
as a player. I also started to analyze. I've never really until the last year or so analyzed my opponent's replays and watched how they play.
really.
Being a streamer, I have the disadvantage of that people can watch me play nearly every day of the week since I do stream that often. But and I'm thinking, well, if everybody else has this advantage against me, I'm gonna need to make the playing field level. I need to watch their replays and take some time off and watch how other people play. And this has given me tips and tricks to see how and how to counter typical play styles that quite a few of the top players do game in game out. And it's great feeling to be able to counter someone's strategy after seeing it. That one that's been practiced from him. But
Cool,
yeah.
cool. So obviously after Operation Charlie Fox, we've got the announcement of ESL. What was your first feelings upon seeing the information come out of Relic headquarters?
Oh, I was thrilled because I knew on they released a roadmap a while ago, and they did promise to say that they would bring a deliver on ESL and that $18,000 prize fund that they mentioned a few years back. And it's good to hear that they made it good of their word and invested in this ESL. So I was really hyped. I thought, it'll bring a lot more competition back. People would come, feel like this game has a chance,
A
to
chance.
make it big. So I was really, really happy upon hearing that news.
Nice. And you delivered, man. I mean, you won the Kickoff Cup. Big match against Jove. Big tearful moment from yourself. Was
Yeah,
that just such
definitely.
a big release of energy, I guess?
It was, yeah. I was just, I never had won something that big before, even though it was around Robin style, and I do agree that it wasn't a best of three with players, but I did manage to beat Jove, and I remember him saying, like, as I started that match, and I hadn't lost a single game, that I didn't lose a single game throughout the whole thing, but I remember him saying, "Don't underestimate me."
I remember
Right?
that, yeah.
I remember him saying, "Don't
Why,
underestimate
why
me,"
would he say that?
and
He was number
I
one in all
really
five
wanted to.
factions.
Yeah, I don't know why, and I said I didn't. I remember saying like, I won't underestimate you, but I think he underestimated
I
me
think
and
he
my
did.
ability then, and I managed to win quite convincingly in that game.
Big shout out to the. I will link below your moments upon winning that. It was such a fantastic thing to see your genuine passion and emotion upon winning. It shows that for a lot of people this game is a big deal, and that's so cool. Moving on from that, I think it's safe to say your excesses in the weekly cups and the monthly cups from then on, from January and February, weren't quite as satisfying.
No,
Um,
definitely not. I think there was a culmination of just feeling, after RNG being, negative at some moments and my instinct going down, I just felt like, I was cursed. Honestly, I felt generally cursed at some point. So
really.
I just put my motivation down. When and trying to stream it, that was probably not the best of ideas. But I just thought, if I'm going to lose anyway, I might as well stream it because I might get some more viewers from that.
Yeah,
But
yeah, I
whatever.
can
But
appreciate
at
it.
the end of the day, that's not the attitude to have to say that I might as well stream because I'm going to lose anyway. But that's why in the last ESL monthly, I was like, I'm great. I'm going to properly buckle down and focus and put all other thoughts out. I just want to win this.
That's cool. So I guess you were at a bit of a low, and you must have been thinking, this is never going to happen for me at this rate. I just the Jove, Love Nest, etc. They just seem to be on a bit of a different level.
Yeah.
Even though I beat this guy in the kickoff cup, and what were your feelings on the meta? I mean, Relic didn't patch very much in January and February. How do you feel about the current situation with the game?
I think the current situation with the game is not too bad. Only recently, probably with like the SimCity Commander, people have been having a lot of grief with
Mm.
that. Though you still can counter it, and it hasn't been used, I don't think, at all in compared in the ESL games. Well,
Jove
at least
tried it. DevM countered it.
oh, there you go then. So I'm guessing he learned his lesson. I probably didn't watch that match, but yeah, it can be countered quite well if someone's wise and gets wind of it early.
Nice. So a bit of a dark period, I guess, in general. But then, you know, let's start with this Saturday. You scraped into the qualifying tournament for
Yeah.
that. You don't know how close it was just being the global leader, which I think may have been Barton. There was a choice between ESL and Relic. They talked it through amongst each other, and they decided it was best for the tournament if all the guys on 80 points had a mini qualifying tournament. I
Yeah,
mean,
I'm glad that. Of course, I'm glad that. Of course, I'm glad they did that. But yeah, I think that was the most sensible thing to do anyway, because it would give them all a chance.
yeah.
I think a few of the players, and Tasman and myself, we didn't participate in a week. I think one of the weeks that I didn't participate was the weekend at PC Gamer. I decided to
Mm,
stay the extra Sunday and go back to the event, so I couldn't participate
true.
in that event. Definitely worth it because I managed to pick up some really awesome customers, two
You could make a
panels.
house, yeah.
I could probably, yeah, I've still got them over there to the side. You can probably see a Warhammer uh, panel back there. But yeah, so that one of the reasons that I was on that 80 points was because I just didn't play one week, and I think Tasman didn't play a week either, so he
Nice.
just didn't get any points.
Talking of talisman, he was your opponent to get
Yeah.
one of those those last tickets, those last choppers out of Hanoi, if you want to call them. What happened in the games against him?
Talisman, I very very similar to the first game against the second game against Loveness in the finals. We both I was playing Brits first against his Austere, and to start with, I was on the I had a good start, and then I was on the back foot after I had a couple of nasty losses. But again, the triple Cromwell with the land mattress combination came out for me, and the commandos with the killing the snipers,
Wow.
and those gamma bombs getting those wipes that I needed just brought me back into the game. They just couldn't stop the Cromwell train.
Very, very cool kind of mesh of units. I loved that aspect. I'm not sure your opponents loved it, but as a spectator, it was really cool to see the dynamics of the medium tanks, the commanders,
Yeah,
and the rocket artillery. Very cool. Moving on from that, your final opponent.
yeah.
How do you assess the quarterfinals and the semis?
So against Jove, so
Yes.
prior to that match, so the first time I beat Jove was in that kickoff cup. I never beat him again in
Really?
any other game. I think my final tally, well, apart from that last game, was until that quarterfinals was like one win to me, like 10 wins for him, right? So I was seriously up against it. But I just every time beforehand that I would face him, I don't know. Maybe I'd have this mental block, like I just couldn't beat this guy. I just couldn't beat, this Joe. He was like a machine, a Russian monster who was powered by
Like
Putin or
from
something. I
Rocky
don't know.
Four, yeah.
Yeah, I just imagine him like saying, "I will break you." So I would, big respect to
Ivan
Joe for
Drago.
being a really, a stalwart player, but and then just come up to against him. I was really thankful that we got on to Langraskaya because that was a map that I'm pretty strong on, and so we got onto that map, and I thought, you know what, I can take him. This is
This
my
is
map.
your moment.
This is my map. And so that boosted me for confidence because we got onto that map first of all. And then I just from the get-go, I had the advantages. I don't think anyone casted it, but it was a really good series. Even
Replay's still out there. I mean, I'm waiting for somebody to
yeah.
cast that one, to be honest.
I had I saw that his Vickers was all clumped up, perfect chance for a rifle grenade. Stole his Vickers like from the first 5 minutes.
Nice.
Then I even like double scout cars chasing that one AC around. He couldn't do much there. I had the triple cap on for a while. Then I managed to get the Oswind.
Oh,
I never go for Oswinds in 1v1s. I was so confident in that game. I had him pinned in his
you
base that
you were
I
in the
managed.
Matrix, yeah.
Yeah, that I was like, I'm gonna get an Oswin and kill this AEC and his only anti-tank gun.
Oh,
Um,
nice.
but I think my confidence almost got the better of me there because I made a few mistakes and he started to come back into the game. But thankfully, I drained enough VPs by that time that as he was
Oh,
coming back, I won that first game on victory
Wow,
points.
sounds like you had great control. No offense to your next opponent, Cruz, but after facing Talisman, I suppose Cruz wasn't so much as a threat. How did those games go? How do you feel about him?
Cruise, man. So Clodny Firma was the map for that, and I was like, oh God, no, because I know my access is pretty bad on Clodny Firma,
Yeah.
as was the case in the start of that match. I was on the back foot, I was surrounded, and I was pinned to my base at the moment for a good while. And the T-70 came up and wiped one of my squads, but
Oh,
I just again stayed focused. I didn't get my emotions get the better of me. I knew Cruz was a very competent player, so I just, I played it. I played the angles, make sure that I controlled the one side of the map that I wanted to get those MGs up, so I could lock down and stop those conscripts from keep on rushing in.
hmm.
And so, and I just kept on building up and building up. Getting that, using that Stuggy and a full health Stuggy to finish off that really weak T that
Yes, I remember
T35.
that.
I was like, I'm going to make this trade because I need to have a good trade right now. I need because if that gets repaired, I'm going to be still behind.
I
So I need
remember
to
it wiped the vet off of Vet 2
yeah.
mortar as well.
And then
So
that was quite nice actually because I used attack ground. Then I was like, I know this thing's going to die, but if I can kill this mortar as well,
yeah,
this would be a big bonus as well. And I managed to kill it and then kill it again as he tried to recruit. So
the amount of manpower you got from
yeah.
that Stuggy was excellent. And
So
I,
definitely
at the time, I
trade.
remember mentioning that it seemed to me that you were gambling with your aggression
Mm.
a hell of a lot better than you used to going
Yeah,
back.
I just had the feeling that Cruz, he's focused in this center, and if I can distract him, I can get away with it. So
Mm,
I dropped some artillery down on his mortars, and MG I knew he would see that, so that was he would be distracted there, and that's when I brought around my 2-2-2 to flank and kill his Katusha, and he wasn't ready for that at all.
multiple times, if I remember
And
correctly.
yes, multiple times. The reason why I made two was in case one got hit by a mine that he would have probably placed up there to stop a second attack like that happening. So that's why I made two. And fortunately, there was no mine there, and I did manage to kill the second Katusha the same way. And I think that was a good trade, even losing both 2-2-2s for just killing that Katusha. Um, because those were the units that were going to probably break me because I needed to keep my packs and my MGs alive because
Yeah,
the conscripts were just
sure.
doing a number on me.
Fool me once, shame on hands. Fool me twice, shame on Cruz. With regards to the Katushas. Moving on from there, I mean, just to big up Loveness for a moment. There's no cooler customer, and there's no kind of icy ESL-esque champion. If you were to create a champion for esports for Co2, he would be the poster boy because of his demeanor, his terrifying efficiency at the game. He,
Yeah,
he's so, he's very he can be he's a cool guy in person, but he can be very serious. And I suppose that was quite an imposing figure for you,
yeah.
helping hands, to find in the final. What were your thoughts going into the game?
So after I had beaten Jove, I thought, no offense to Loveness, but Jove was the guy to beat in my mind. And after beating him, I just had such a huge amount of confidence
Really?
going into the game against Loveness. I thought, I'd recently beaten Loveness a few times in auto match, and he hadn't beaten me while the training for that week happened.
Sure.
So I thought, you know what, I can take Loveness. I'm not going to not let my emotions get the better of me. Just play as I know as well as I can play. And I know no disrespect to
No.
Loveness. I know he's one hell of a player, but I just felt like today was my day, and I wasn't letting anyone have it, and anyone taking it away from me.
Great games, great games. To talk about your Wehrmacht game against his Soviets,
Yep.
that went exceedingly well. I mean, the clip I recorded of the cast has now got 3,000 views growing. A great defense against his offensive.
Yeah.
Let's talk through this a little bit. Did you have a feeling something was coming?
Yes, my snipers had pushed over to the right hand side and spotted the two T-34-85s in
Ah,
lying in wait that were about to come push over to the left hand side. So I had pulled back my packs and positioned them to the right hand side. I didn't have an inkling of the T-34-85 on the left hand side. I wasn't expecting that one to come through, and I had laid telemines for the far left of my
you
flanks in
had.
case something had happened. But in hindsight, I'd wished I'd laid some more to the right hand side, and maybe things would have
Yes.
gone a little bit better. But yeah, so I did knew that push was coming, and I was just preparing myself for that.
Nice. I mean, so much like we couldn't quite pick up on the cast. It's so difficult when you've got like a little camera and you're trying to move it around, following these pro players, kind of thing. Well, that's really interesting insight. Thank you for that. So the push is coming. What are your thoughts? You've got this
Okay.
big chaotic German. He's got four tanks, three T-34-85s, one T-34-76, and an Su-85, all coming at you. How do you cope with that
Okay.
mechanically?
So I knew the push was coming from the majority of the push was coming for the right. I had positioned my Gren with the PTRS just a bit further than my pack so that my pack could get the first shot in and then I could deliver the Faust to that first T-34, right?
Ah,
And that would put that one out of commission. My Vet 3 Stug E, I told him to critically stun the second T-34 come from that situation. So both of those T-34s were pretty much out of commission for the rest of that engagement.
nice.
And then from that moment on, my rest of my army was just to focus down the one that was damage engined, then focus the one that was. I decided to focus the one that was damage engined first because obviously its turret can still fire, right?
Yeah.
So then because the other one's critically turret can't turn around because it was critically hit by the Stug. So then I decided then to focus that one down. Then I was not expecting the T-34 to the left hand side, so I was like, right, my tiger's marked target. I'm going to pull him back to base. Then I thought that T-34-76 was going to crush my infantry,
Yeah.
so I pulled that back. My triple vet MG43 all the while was suppressing two squads coming in off a vet
Yes.
3 guard squad and a conscript squad. So my MG was ready for that push from the right hand side. So none of Loveness's infantry in that engagement was effective. And then so after I had retreated back, I positioned my Tiger behind my HQ so he couldn't get shot anymore. And then as soon as so I think Loveness was too preoccupied trying to kill that Tiger, so then I could then reposition my two pack guns back on, kill that T-34-76, and then turn them back around. And then when the Su-85 tried to run away, I put the stun shot off. So if that stun shot had not killed it, the Tiger was then coming in to then
Yes.
deliver the final shot. If because
So,
that Su-85 would have been stunned, and I would have gotten the killing blow from
and
the Tiger
that's
if it hadn't killed it.
that is exactly why people in YouTube comments, etc., who aren't quite as savvy with the game, need to realize that defensive micro is just as important as offensive micro when the shit hits the fan.
Yeah.
And it's a very impressive tale of events. Obviously, a lot of it would have been instinct, and you've obviously since analysed it, but very, very cool nonetheless. Obviously, your game against Brits, against his there, was a little bit more straightforward, I guess, from your perspective. Still a big competitive game, don't get me wrong, but
Yeah.
you had beaten him in auto match on that map that week
Yeah.
already with that exact faction. 110 fuel Cromwell's love nest definitely doesn't like them, does he?
No, after the game happened, I specifically watched his reaction because he streamed that of those games. How he thought of the strategy that I beat
Yeah.
him with, and he said he hated the Cromwell. So I was just
He wasn't licking your lips.
I was just thinking, well, if I'm getting him in the finals, I'm just going to keep making Cromwells because he doesn't like it. It's going to probably trigger him,
Definitely.
which I thought might be the case.
And that is exactly the thinking we like.
They just did it very well. They were cheap, they were effective. The last push against his Stugs, I smoked prior. I did know he had spotting scopes on his scout card, so he could see me coming. So that's why I smoked first and then pushed in, and that's why I surprised that one of the Stugs. And once I'd flanked those Stugs, that was pretty much game over.
Nice, that's so cool to hear, and I love the competitive spirit that you've just alluded to with regards to if he doesn't like it, I'm gonna do it more. Because it's competitive gaming,
Yeah.
man, and that's how you should be, and I like to hear
Yeah.
that. That's really
I've
cool.
always been somebody that's been really. I've hated it when it's happened to me. When somebody's is using something that I might not agree with, like in the game, like it might not be slightly unbalanced, this kind of thing.
Yep.
But if you can't beat them, join them because you can't.
Yep.
Haters are going to hate all day long. You might as well just do what you need to do to win, and I did it.
And when money's on the line, €1,300.
It wasn't about the money for me. It was totally about just being able to say to myself that I beat the best. Just the glory, man. I just wanted this moment.
To be honest, if I was a competitive gamer, I'd be exactly the same. The pride and having the thing attached to your name now that you won the ESL Monthly, the last one, which arguably makes it the biggest and most important in my opinion. And just talk us through your thoughts on winning it and what it means to you.
Just it means the world to me, man. As you know, and as you've said, I've been playing this game for years.
Yeah.
And to finally be able to say to all those haters and all those people that say like Hans has got no skill, Hans doesn't know, Hans doesn't know nothing about this game, I can say, look at this, look at those games. You can't
You can't take it
not,
away.
yeah, you can't take it away from me. I've tried week on week, trying practicing against, scrimming against DevMs, scrimming against Von Ivan, practicing these games. Big credit, big shout out to Von Ivan for winning the NA monthly as well, by the way.
Yeah, big shout out.
Yeah, one of my Company Heroes 2 friends, he's done a really good job with that. Um, but yeah, I just kept, I just believed again, and yeah, I just feel so happy, man. It's just like a life goal achieved for me. It might be silly to say this, but a lot of what I do in life is this game. I want to be a professional gamer and streamer, and this big win has pushed me in that direction, man.
It's not silly if you make it happen, mate.
Yeah,
If you endeavour to do that and that's your passion, that is not even slightly silly or diminutive. It's a very awesome thing indeed, in my opinion. Um, and as I say, if one thing we can talk about now is Company of Heroes 2 hit future.
yeah.
I personally left DSL on Saturday. Very happy how it had all gone and really satisfied with everything, but kind of like a little bit of a. I think that's probably it. But I'm already seeing the seeds of
Oh,
further
are you now?
stuff to come, and maybe not quite as big as Go 4 was in terms of prize pool, but there will still be cool stuff for Company Heroes 2, and I'm sure you'd be very happy to hear that.
Definitely, yeah. I hear there's rumors of a 2v2 tournament happening soon, and hopefully, if Von feels up to it, the NA champ and the EU champ working together to
Oh,
possibly win
dream team!
would be pretty damn cool. But though, if Jove and Nagano got together, they would probably make a very fierce and
Oh, could you
you know
imagine?
the Russians. That would be very very intimidating indeed. But I think if we, me and Von have been practicing in the past, and with our 2v2s, and if once we got our mojo, we're almost unstoppable.
Wow, that's fighting talk. That is. I think 2v2 definitely for the next few months is where the
Yeah.
tournaments are all heading, and I think it'll be really exciting, especially if we do receive a new patch from Relic. Hint, hint, please, please, please do one. um,
Yes, please run it.
so to wrap this up now, thank you, Hans, for all your thoughts. Thank you for playing the game. Thank you for streaming and
Thank you.
casting this game for 5 years, 6 years now. Big plaudits to you. Nobody can take away from you what you've done, and thank you for watching this interview, everybody. If you're watching this on YouTube, this is part of a Relic blog article on Helping Hans' victory and ESL in general, of course, Von Ivan, which you can read and see in the description. So thank you for that, and goodbye.
Thank you. Bye, guys.